Welcome to this Patreon first episode of the Cross the Bifrost podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Norbert, coming to you with another episode from the UK Nations weekend. And this is going to be an exciting one because I'm here with the most buff MCP player in the universe, I think. I think I saw you picking up, 400 kilograms in that last video? Something like.
Yeah, something close to that. Something close to. No, not being far too kind. I enjoy lifting weights. It's very good fun.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, you are a trainer and you do lift weights for yourself, but you also play MCP. And you were at the UK Nations weekend. So in fact, you were on the second place team on Nations, so with his team Weapon Flex. So congratulations on that big achievement.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
go and give it to you.
And then on the singles day, you carried on with this convocation list, more or less. And so we're going to be actually talking about the convocation list from the singles event because it is optimized, whereas the Nations one was tweaked a little bit to deal with the specific singleton type of format that the Nations team had. Yeah.
I got very lucky and had almost the same roster. They won today too.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And yeah, we wanted to talk about this, first of all, because you did so well, but also because I don't think people really understand the power of convocation. And so hopefully this will help them understand it a bit better and maybe be persuaded to start.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think as a convocation player, one of my favorite things is when my opponent says, what does that leadership do? I haven't played against convocation very much because I know that I'm going to be able to sort of get some tricks in and pull the wool over their eyes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was exactly me when they first came out. Thankfully, it's been, but you don't see them very often, so it's still kind of a rusty kind of a matchup. Okay, but let's talk about you first. Tell us how you got into wargaming and what attracted you to MCP.
So I think my brother Finley, who's also been on this podcast before, and I started playing Warhammer 40k when we were kids. So I would have been 12. We played that a little bit, very casually, painted some models, and then we sort of refound it just before lockdown and sort of through lockdown. We were, started playing 40k. I played Necrons and a bit of Thousand Suns. So like the durable, tricky factions have always been to my appeal. And then we got really tired of the Games Workshop game system that was, in MCP terms, really attrition focused on that first turn.
Mm-hmm.
You could often play with 60% of your army before you had any real game actions. So MCP provides a much more interesting chess-like rollout and much more dynamic decision making.
Yep,
which is really appealing.
Cool. All right. So you haven't been playing wargaming that terribly long, actually, it sounds like.
The last sort of 5 years, but MCP was the first one that we went to events for and playing tournaments for. So I've kind of been a little bit more serious about it for the last year or two almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, cool. So what is it about Convocation then that attracted you to play them?
Well, I love Doctor Strange, and blue is my favorite color. So having blue attack and Doctor Strange made me very happy. But I think also in terms of gameplay, they fit that durable faction when you have the books turn up, and the leadership, the bump, is really a really powerful defensive tool. So they have these sort of powerful defensive tools, and then they have quite solid mobility and action compression with the places, and then quite solid displacement as well. So they kind of do a bit of everything really well when the time is right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel I'm rarely missing a tool that I need. I'm never like, I can't throw Hulk. I'm like, I always have the tool, and if I lose, it's normally because I've messed up.
Okay. And what do you think that they has changed about them? Because they've had some character changes on it. Has any of those changes kind of switched them on for you comparative to when they first came out?
That's a good question. So, I think the recent buffs we saw of OG Strange getting buffed, Clea getting buffed, and Magik getting a bit more health are really interesting. And I think there's maybe a space for a really hyper defensive OG Strange Convocation. But I think their best sort of core is running Sexy Strange, like Strange 2, Magik, and then either Wong or Voodoo. That gives you just a lot of speed and really powerful superpowers in your core models. And then you can splash whoever from there. Combo are really rely on their splashes because of the bump, the leadership is a really defensive power. Having quite defensive models, someone like Bill or even Hulk himself, like are really powerful because they benefit a lot from the leadership.
Mm-hmm. I'm just taking a look. Convocation doesn't have a lot of actually affiliated characters.
No, it's one of the smallest affiliations, and they really do love those tanky models, and they don't have a lot of them. The other big thing that they look for is a medium base, because that lets their bump do a lot more interesting things. There's a lot of movement distances that a medium base kind of breaks with a range 1 place. For example, if you attack a medium base within range 2, if you're not in base-to-base contact, you'll get out of range 2 when you bump defensively, which means it's say a Namor charges a Voodoo, hits the Voodoo takes 1 damage, places out of range 1, Namor then can't double tap Voodoo. Which is quite a powerful effect to be able to have access to.
Yeah.
You kind of get fallback your ship.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to remind everybody, the leadership is a separate tactics card. It doesn't count in your 5, and could be placed on any of the characters that are affiliated that you happen to take on the table that day. So you don't have to assign a leader. So to speak, you have to assign a leader. Yeah.
Although it's almost always Doctor Strange too for me, just because he's so tanky and can be where I want. And I think in the last 30 games of playing him, he's not been KO'd. So I keep that leadership online. Someone like Wong or Magik, I like to play as like pieces that I can trade. If I can trade Magik for a 4 threat or trade Wong for a 3 threat by getting my opponent to overcommit for them to get an extract, I'm slowly winning that battle over the long term of the game. Whereas if I trade Strange away, the opponent rarely has a piece that's more valuable to their game plan than Strange is to mine. So having Strange hold the leadership and keeping him safe while trading all the other pieces is normally the most successful strategy.
What are the basic approaches to trying to build a Convocation roster? I mean, do you feel like they play a certain way best, or is there different ways that they can be structured?
They tend to follow a fairly simple game plan in that you have a great deal of success diving in an enemy extract. So if you're on an F shape or even on the midline, because of the bump when you take damage being each turn, that sets you up really well to play quite aggressive on the extract scoring round 1, and then start trading pieces, because your opponent is forced to try and daze you or get a steal to get that extract back, which then powers you up to kill them back. And you kind of go back and forward, and because of the bump and because of your tactics cards, you are a little bit favorable in that trade every time. And so, maybe I go 3-1 or even on extracts, but I've forced you to overposition. I'm going to win on positioning. I'm going to slowly win on those trades until eventually round 3, round 4, you're missing more threat than I am. And that's when, Strange is super powered up. He can displace people like crazy. And I'm going to start winning on the secure side of the scoring as well. So I think that's their core game plan. And that's, the most success I've had with them is when you're trying to think about that. How do I go up on extracts? How do I force my opponent to trade with me? And how do I use my displacement to win points?
So, because I'm still confused, you mentioned very early on that they like tanky characters. On the other hand, now you're saying that they also could be really good at taking out characters. So, is that 2 different play styles, or do you have to balance those 2 aspects during the course of a game?
They are tanky or aggressive based on when you use certain tactics cards. So the leadership, to get into the nitty gritty, the flip side of the leadership is you can pay 1 power in the power phase and strain, and then you get access to a aggressive or defensive rerolls based on whether or not you've activated. So that kind of enables this playstyle where you're a little bit tankier and your activations are a bit safer, but your opponent's activations are a little bit less safe because you get those rerolls into them. So that's one element of getting tankier. Another element is the Ironbound books, where you're able to change physical attacks into Mystic. Most of the Convocation models have quite high Mystic defense and have a wild reverse pierce mechanic to make their defensive dice a bit better. And then you also have the Mystic type Dark Rain or like reroll effect on a tactics cards as well. So with all these different tactics cards and leadership effects, you're able to really control how tanky you are. And it's then about placing damage in the best place, and really picking a certain model and be like, that model is going to die first, and then that model is going to die second. And by sort of having that game plan and having your models be tanky at the right time, is how you win the trades.
So when we did the Convocation affiliation box review, we felt that in general, anyway, people seem to have the leadership card on the bump side for most of the time. Is that what your experience is? And if it isn't, so when do you tend to switch it?
Okay, so it's a really good question, because I think there's the first 10, 20 games of Convocation will be figuring out when the best time to switch it back and forward is.
Yeah.
I think round one, we've got to be on the bump side, because you're never attacking unactivated models round one, and you're never taking attacks on unactivated models round one, unless something's gone horribly wrong. So the bump side is really good on round one, because it allows you to bump, say, from picking up certain extracts. For example, like an F extract, if you place to the far side, you can bump onto a side C. So I can, say, double move with Voodoo, pick up an F extract, and if I position correctly, I can bait my opponent into attacking me bump range one onto a side C, and therefore, gain more action compression and more movement off of that. So you've got all these little tricks where you're positioning well. But then round two, probably the game plan is to start murdering my enemy and picking somebody to trade with. So that's where it's effective to swap the leadership. However, if Strange will then be left on 3 power, it's not worth doing, because he wants to be able to place himself. So it's kind of like an if else. Like, if Strange has enough power, then flip the leadership for round two, else just leave it, because the bump is still good. Normally round 2 and 3 you want to be trading and killing stuff. But then round 4, you're kind of on this positioning game again. So that's when I'd normally flip it back, so that if my opponent was pushing me off extracts or pushing me off secures, I can bump back onto them. There are exceptions to this on super scoring teams. Like, webs aren't really going to be threatening enough for the rerolls to matter. So staying on the bump side is normally the way to go in that matter.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Would you say then that your overall game plan is very similar to Inhumans, where you try to get up on, or even X-Men, where you try to get up on extracts and then bunker into secures?
Yeah, I think that's really accurate. I think the difference, though, between Convocation versus like an X-Men or Inhumans type of leadership is, like, we're going to go up on extracts and then we're going to fight you. Whereas X-Men or Inhumans seem like they're going up on extracts and they're trying to defensively move back to a certain point.
Yeah,
which we definitely have the ability to do in Convocation. But, like, I'm quite happy if Magik dazes and then she can throw some attacks at the start of the following round.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So you're looking to actually fight rather than to bunker up.
Yeah, we want to get ahead on points and then just start trading and swinging back and forward, and it makes a really fun sort of gameplay and play pattern, because you're going up and down with your opponent, and it's quite tense rounds. But I think one of the big factors is, like, every model does a lot with 10 power. So if you do daze a Voodoo, he can then make 2 of your models drop. Or if you daze a Doctor Strange, he can then place everyone all over the place. If you daze a Magik, she can double spend her and blow something up. So, like, we want to dive and force you to kill our models, and then we're going to do a lot with that power you give us.
Yeah. But would you say that your general game plan is grabbing the extracts round 1, but then round 2 play Ironbound books to hold tight?
Ironbound books on round 2 is a big deal, and normally we're trying to make sure that a model has enough power to spend it. Again, though, like, if it's going to leave all your models in a bad place to pay that power, then it's probably worth just leaving it till round 3. A big element of, like, the economy for where you're spending for your tactics cards and your leadership, because they all cost investments in the power phase or early in the round. So it's like, okay, well, if Strange has 4 power, only enough for 1 place, Magik has no power because she's picked up, and Voodoo has no power because he's picked up, it's really not that worth it to flip the books, because it's going to make all of them have quite poor activations. But if, say, I'm running Wong in the roster, where he's quite good is he can move on to a secure or pick up an extract, then meditate. So he ends round 1 with 1 power, starts round 2 with 2 power, and can then be the battery for all the tactics cards and leadership stuff.
Okay, but to be clear, Ironbound books only needs to be paid for once, or does it, like, does each character have to pay for it?
No, only needs to be paid for once, and it's across your whole team.
Yeah.
But the economy is so tight in the start of round 2, because you've not started throwing attacks yet. You've not started taking too many attacks.
Okay.
And if you start with who you pay for it and when, I've actually found quite a few games where, like, your opponent's then able to hit almost the wrong model that you don't want them to hit, and all your turns play out much slower.
Interesting. But Wong solves this problem, doesn't he? Right? Because he can just meditate.
Wong is excellent for that. Yeah, he's excellent. If you can pick up an extract, meditate, and then round 2, play books, move to a secure, and sit there, most of the time I'll win those games because it's such a problem for your opponent. The economy's in such a good spot in terms of your power. Wong's excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent model.
Amazing. Okay. Where do you struggle when you're playing Convocation?
I think some of the worst matchups are sort of the wide fighty matchup, or things that have a really fast tempo. So Inhumans is quite a bad matchup, and Avengers are quite a bad matchup. The reason I think they're a bad matchup is because they are able to do so much on round 1, similar to what we are. So like if I'm able to dive an extract, Inhumans is probably also able to dive an extract. Or in the Avengers matchup, say I've dived an extract, they're quite likely to just pick up that KO turn 1, or pick up that daze turn 1. Whereas like something that plays out a little bit slower, like a Spider Foes type leadership, is a much easier game.
Is that because you're looking for you need time to basically attrition the opponent?
Yeah, I just think that anyone that's not able to play fast enough in the current meta and into Convocation is going to end up getting left behind. So anyone that, like, if you're playing a team or playing a leadership, I think if you don't have these, like, these are my 2 or 3 best turn 1 activations and sort of rollouts, you're going to end up getting quite far behind on scoring. And then normally the plan would be, okay, maybe I'm playing an attrition team, I'm going to then swing really hard for the fences on round 2. But that's almost a bit too late because that's when the books are up, everything's online for us, and we're going to start playing our Convocation-y tricksy game, bumping out of ranges and having really good defense dice.
Yeah. Do you have recommendations for what people should be doing when you have Ironbound books up?
So if you're against Convocation and they have books up, definitely don't hit Strange. It is a waste of time, unless you can have energy attack. Someone like Wong doesn't get any tankier on the book's turn, so he's not bad to dive on that turn 2. But the best thing I think really is just to try and displace and not take too much damage. Because I kind of think the Convocation models can be pretty immortal. And you need a bigger spike than you would normally need to take out a model.
Yeah. So, because in those turns, their physical defense is quite high, their mystic defense remains high, but you did make an interesting point. So what about energy attacks? Are you generally worried about energy attacks? Yeah.
Energy attack is definitely the scarier one. So like a model like Mephisto or Black Bolt in the meta at the moment can do a lot into a Convocation team.
Oh, that's interesting. That's helpful information for me.
If you bring a high energy attack model, you can pretty safely just move them into the middle of the board round 1, as long as you don't overextend them for Strange to kill them. But Strange will end up, hopefully, in your attack range. If you can daze Strange at the top of round 2, it's really favorable for you for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Oh, just taking a look. Yeah, he only does have 3. I thought he might have 4 defense energy, but he does not.
If you were hitting him with a Baron Zemo, he's quite tanky. He's got those 5 mystic defense that he makes his physical. But if you're hitting him with some energy attacks, even a Rocket Raccoon, he's a little bit more worried. You know, I'm more worried about a Rocket Raccoon than a Malekith.
Yeah.
If I'm on Strange.
Yeah, for sure. When do you use Strange 1?
I personally never use Strange 1 because I think that the opportunity cost is just far too high. I think there's probably some builds out there where you make a really tanky team, but the most broken ability in the entire game is Doctor Strange 2's Scalpel of Strange.
Yeah.
4 power, limited on characters only, to place somebody within 2 range 3. You can use it on yourself for action compression. You can use it on your teammates to get them to safety if they've got an extract.
Yeah.
You can use it on enemies to displace everyone. I think it is incredibly powerful, and I think that's a big part of how Convocation score points and win games is by Strange using his superpower. And I think that original Strange just doesn't do nearly as much.
How does he tend to accumulate 4 power at a time to use that superpower?
Strange 2, just his builder is really good. 5 dice Mystic with skulls unlocked on rerolls is a really big deal.
With Pierce too, Wild Pierce.
With Pierce 2. Yeah. So normally he wants to be at the edge of range 3 or in range 2 next to a model he's going to displace. He wants to be making attacks and placing people around. His reverse Pierce on attacks also gains in power. So often if people are swinging into him, he'll roll a couple of wilds, not take any damage, and then build power for it, which is the dream. There's also all the dynamics with playing a Pohldack, like one model paying 3 to give another model rerolls is normally a way for someone like Wong to hand Strange a bucket load of power. Because if Wong spends 3 power for the tactics card, Strange could then build 6 or 7 power from that tactics card being played by killing a model. So that's like another big part of it, is like using Plane of Pohldack to hand power from one model to another through damage.
Okay. All right. Interesting. And he doesn't mind being that close, with his range 3 builder?
Well, this is the thing with like the books turn. If books are up, he's pretty happy, he's pretty safe. And then I think there is an element of just like understanding which models threaten Strange, and whether you want to have the rerolls or not. But they need to threaten him twice, because if he just dazes and he gets priority and has 10 power, he will move everybody everywhere, and that can be a really big turn. So you kind of need to be able to threaten him once and then have prio and threaten him again for me to really be worried about where Strange is placed.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I'm looking at this. It says a character can be placed by a superpower only once per turn, which means that you could blow your power twice before you start attacking, theoretically start attacking some things, get the more power, and then keep doing more scalpels.
I've had multiple turns with Strange where he's used 16 power in one turn by placing 4 different models.
Yeah.
And just imagine the amount of displacement and moving on the board. Imagine you've dived 2 models into my 2 models. Strange dazes one of them, places one away, places my friendly model either in or out, places himself back, and places another friendly model from the back line forward. That's 16 power to Ben. I've been able to daze one model, move your guy out of range, and move 2 of my guys up. You can just completely reshape the board with that power.
Yeah. That's. I didn't realize he could get it so much, because it's like, 4 power, that's expensive. But it seems like because it's such a flexible superpower on top of having a good builder, seems like good. Good.
And he gains that 3 power in the power phase as well, so he's always 1 power away.
Oh, he say that once more. Sorry.
So Strange 2 gains 3 power in the power phase.
Oh, I see it now. Oh gosh, yeah. Oh wow.
He finishes a round on 1 power left. He'll start the following round with enough power to play the ability.
Jeez, we should, theoretically, he can portal himself up so he can attack a lot of people and then get lots of power and start portaling.
He doesn't kill away.
Oh, man. Wow. Any other tips or tricks about using him well?
Avoid using the sniper rifle. I believe it's the Daggers of Dalaroth.
Yeah.
The 1 power 6 dice spender. I think that's a bit of a bait, because just building power on Strange is so useful. So if you can be in range 3, that's where you want to be. Occasionally the spender is useful, but again, like 6 power on a model that spends power on his superpowers so well is super expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. You'd rather be spending to portal yourself into using the builder rather than using
double buildering almost every turn.
Yeah. Okay. Do you ever use the spender?
On occasion, if he's flooded with conditions or has taken a bunch of damage and he's surrounded, like if the opponent feeds me a really good spender, I'll use it, but it's very rare. Even if I'm surrounded by like 3 models, it's normally better to place 2 of them away and place myself out and daze the last one with 2 builders. It really has to be like you're hitting 4 models and you're going to do something crazy.
Okay. We talked a bit about why you don't like to use Doctor Strange 1. We might as well round out with why you don't fancy Baron Mordo and Ancient One.
Okay, so Mordo I actually used for a long time on E Street, because he was a useful piece for buffing dice, and he has the medium-sized bump. But he's just a bit of a dork. He doesn't impact the board reliably enough for me. His slot has been replaced with Clea, because she can reliably build her own power and then throw people as well as buff dice. She kind of has a lot more versatility in that slot. Ancient One I have used and I do like her, but she lacks that sort of once she gets 10 power, she's going to change the whole board state kind of thing that you really want from these Convocation models. She's going to place range 2 and spend a spender, which is pretty good, but Magik does the same thing for threat less. She's pretty tanky on a flank on her own, but because she doesn't displace anybody, she won't reliably win that flank because she's only spending for damage. So splashing in someone like Bill or Red Skull 3, Bill more so for this particular job, like he can hold down a flank on his own and reliably go last, throw somebody off and win that point. Which Ancient One in the 4 threat slot just doesn't do as well.
Okay. Got it. All right, so the other characters are outclassing them, essentially.
Yeah. I think your core wants to be that like strange Magik and then either Wong or Voodoo. And then you're splashing in good models to help you win fights or displace people from there.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at your roster then, and we could talk about some of these characters. So the affiliated ones were Dr. Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Voodoo, Magik, Clea, and Wong. And then you splash in Ebony Maw with the Space Gem, Ultron 2, the Metal Tyrant, Red Skull 2. Oh, wait. No, Red Skull 3, is it?
Skull 3 this is, yeah.
Red Skull 3, Master of the World. Beta Ray Bill, and Black Panther 3, Chosen of Bast. All right, let's talk about the affiliated ones first. Would you? We've talked about Strange a bit. We've talked about Wong a bit. So tell us about Voodoo, Magik, and Clea. What do they do?
Magik is a really, really powerful mobile skirmish piece. She's going to be able to be where she wants to be and throw some good attacks. And that's normally enough for a 3-threat, I think. I know that webs have some crazy things going on at the 3-threat slot, but like we're poor little wizards. We need to use Magik when we can. Her tactics card, though, is something that really sends her over the top because she can place another model away. So she throws good attacks and skirmishes, and then if she dazes, when she dazes, she's going to be able to have this access to placing herself range 3, double moving, and placing an opponent range 3, which makes her incredibly mobile. If there's an extract left lying around, she can run next to it, throw somebody away, and run away. She can displace a powerful model, so like effectively staggering Hulk by placing them away is really a powerful Magik activation. Or just bullying and trading smaller pieces is also powerful. So she's this powerful skirmish piece.
Does she?
Dr. Voodoo is one of them.
Do you find her surviving now much better with her extra health, or how does she go?
The 6 health is really nice, but honestly, don't expect her to be alive at the end of the game. Occasionally, she will make it if she's able to run away. But she's very much a disposable piece that's there to do a job. She's there to trade up. Most of the time, I expect Magik to swap places with an enemy 4th threat or higher, and both of them be removed, or with her card win a few points. But no, I'm not expecting her to be super tanky. That 1 extra health is nice, but not game changing.
Okay, got it. How about Clea?
She's a 3-threat Wong. So in games where the threat doesn't quite work out, she does the same job as Wong. I would never take both of them. I ran her once, I think, across the whole weekend, and that was on Emkron because I felt that the threat worked out where I wanted to clear over Wong, and she was going to be able to consistently have the power to move and flip points.
Okay, so otherwise you look at her as Wong, like so. All those comments you made about Wong is
she's probably one of the least played affiliated models. I think she's useful enough to earn her slot. But she hits the board maybe 1 in 10 games.
Okay. And that's strictly for threat reasons. There's no other reason.
Yeah, for the most part. Maybe on a Scoundrels game where I think having another model with reliable displacement in her throw is going to be useful.
Yeah, sure.
For the most part, it's like if the threat works out where you want Wong and you want an 11 threat core, then it's Strange Magik Clea is good enough.
Okay. Dr. Voodoo, does he do anything particular in Convocation that we don't already see him being used everywhere else for?
He does all sorts of crazy things anywhere he goes. One of the nice things in Convocation is he gets access to 2 relevant tactics cards. The books is good, but not the one that I really want to talk about. He gets Orb of Agamotto, which gives him access to a range 3 place, which makes him incredibly mobile. If in that turn where you daze him and give him 10 power, if you have the place online, the tactics card place, he can move very far, steal the extracts, and then run away. And that's excellent. So for 0 actions, he could effectively place himself in, make somebody drop, maybe do an attack, and then run off. Very good for that. And then the other one is the plane of Pohldack, getting access to rerolls. Makes him a bit of a murder bot if he needs to be. I think that with plane of Pohldack, there's not a lot of people that he can't daze if he's waking up next to them with enough power to double spender. So mostly he's still doing Dr. Voodoo things, but you have a couple more lines of play.
And you like his spender, huh?
His spender's great. Yeah, his spender's fantastic. 7 dice for the 3 power with the wild stealing extra damage can be really useful. And double spender will put down most models.
Okay. All right. Cool. Right. Let's get into these splashes. Who do you want to tackle first?
I think we'll just go down the list. I think Ebony Maw never hit the table.
What's his plan, though? What's the plan for him?
His plan is that because he's gaining 4 power and has the space stone, He's really good on pay-to flips. Kind of similar to like what you'd expect an APOC, like mid to late game play pattern be, like just moving around flipping points. But I think that most of the time I found it was more useful to just go a bit wider. I didn't really want the 5 threat in Strange plus the 6 threat in Maw. But he can be really good.
Okay, but like when would you feel compelled to use him?
I think that he's probably going to drop from that roster at the moment, but he'd be useful if I'm up against a Hulk or a really tall team, and I think that the advances on his builder are going to be useful, or the advances on his gainer are going to be useful.
Yeah.
Plus, if Josh has some really good application, so someone like Carnage, who's running rampant at the moment, when he's going to build get a daze or KO and full heal himself, Ebony Maw's tactics card to deny that superpower can be really.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is Ultron 2.
Ultron is a Midnight Suns answer, bringing a lot of energy attacks and some terrain control. This is kind of similar to Maw as well, like where they both have terrain throws. One of the wizard's biggest problems is having stuff thrown at them. So I used to run Brace a lot, and now I just try and throw things first. So I think it's always useful to have a character with a terrain throw, so I can throw the big size 4s first. And I've even had turns of throwing a size 4 into a size 3 just to remove loads of terrain all at once.
Yeah, so you do that fairly regularly, it sounds like.
Well, whenever it seems useful, and like if I can remove a lot of damage, because that's effectively 9 damage that I'm not going to take, which is roughly like 3 5-dice physical attacks. So that's a big deal if you can get those bits of terrain off the table.
And Ironbound Books doesn't help in the dodging department?
No, not even a little bit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It makes the enemy's actions more efficient, but yeah, those superpowers and compression and stuff is kind of quite scary for us.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Red Skull 3.
Now, Red Skull 3 was a monster all weekend. I find him really, really powerful. I mentioned about the one of the effective play patterns being diving in an enemy F extract. Red Skull's power stealing mechanic makes him really, really useful for being able to double move and then play with the power that you feed my opponent, that you feed my model on that first turn you dealt damage. So that's really effective. Here's another model with a Scalpel with a range 2, place an enemy range 3 or place a model range 3, which means that I kind of have this network of wizards that can all place themselves or other models. Yeah. He's also my Shang-Chi answer. Shang-Chi was everywhere. Ultron does a bit of this as well, but those range 4 energy attacks, I think it's so important to build those into your lists at the moment.
Okay. I'm just looking at these things. So your core is typically Strange 2, Voodoo, Magik, and Wong, right? So that's 5, 9, 12, 14. So it's a core of 14 threat.
Yeah, I'll stop you there. You never take 4 Convocation models if you can help it, because they're good enough, but there's better models. So the core is normally 10 or 11 threat. It's definitely Strange.
Yeah.
And then it's either Magik and Wong or it's Voodoo and Wong. And very occasionally you'll do the 12 threat core of Voodoo and Magik.
Yeah.
So that gives you then room for a 4 threat and a 3 threat or 2 4s.
Got it. Okay.
So that's kind of the big space that we try and occupy.
Okay. Because you have 2 4s, Red Skull 3, Beta Ray Bill, and then you have Black Panther, which is a 3 threat. So yeah, go on with Beta Ray Bill. So I guess you using him for his tankiness and sexy Strange moves him around with Scalpel?
Bill's really useful because he's so independent. He doesn't need any help from anybody. He's a strong, independent horseman.
Yeah.
He is going to be able to be a non-pressured activation. It's like you're always worried about your opponent stealing your activations. Bill is so nice because you can just leave him there and know that he's probably going to be able to still have his activation if he goes last because of his damage reduction. And then that last activation that he gets to get is really powerful because he normally gets to move and throw somebody. Yeah, but which is a reliable 1DP swing.
Where do you get the power though? That's why I find it problematic with him when he's off on his own.
Gains 2.
Yep. He
normally puts up an extract round 1, which will mean that he can throw something on round 2.
Yep.
And typically, your opponent will try and hit him if you play him aggressively enough. Because you are exactly right. You can sometimes struggle with the power because sometimes round 3, if he's been left alone, he will just have the 2 power and he won't have enough.
Right. Okay. And the curious choice here, Black Panther 3.
Black Panther 3 is the pay-to-flip god slot at 3 threat that I've alternated between him and Iron Fist. Basically, I just want a model that's going to be really effective at winning like Emkron and Meteors, because they're able to be mobile and flip as many points as I can get them on. Bast was the choice for this particular outing because I was interested at the potential for the Plane of Pohldack card, giving him access to a bunch of Mystic rerolls, and making him basically be able to explode in damage if he got fed power.
Okay. Yeah, because that's his problem also. He doesn't make power.
He doesn't make power, no. But he is, again, that sort of like one of the big things I'm looking for a Convocation model is a medium. They can be deployed opposite an enemy's home F extract and double move and pick that up. And then using the bumps and slowly walk backwards can slowly bump back towards safety. So he is a 3-threat version of that where, because there's no mods, he's maybe less likely to die. He can move and pick up. But he's not as much of a like dork and as Lizard, who's the other option for that sort of medium base guy.
Yeah.
Because Lizard doesn't deal any damage. So Bast was kind of the choice. And Bast did well. Bast won the game that he was running. So he didn't come up very much, but he did win when he was played.
Okay, so which of the splashes do you think you crutch on?
One of my favorite things about Convocation is being able to rotate splashes. So like, there's always fun in thinking who's going to work here. But Bill and Red Skull 3 came out so many games over the weekend. I think they both had 7 or 8 outings each. So they were superstars of the weekend in that Convocation roster.
Let me understand Red Skull 3. I mean, you're using him aggressively to do damage. Does his teleport come into play as well then? Or how are you using him?
So Red Skull 3's got really interesting use of his teleport, where he can piggyback power off of other models. He's got a lot of really interesting lines. He can kind of pick up an extract early on, and then later on move into position to use other people's power. Or he can double move and utilize power of somebody who's been damaged on round 1. So he kind of has these few really interesting lines early on. Generally in the mid game, he's going to be dealing damage just with his range 4 attacks, which is good against Shang-Chi. And then into the later game, any model that's able to do a double move and utilize a superpower to win a point is going to be really, really good. So into the later game, him and Strange and Bill and even Magik with her tactics card have access to these really reliable ways to just win VP on secures. In this position where I'm expecting to trade some damage and eventually go up on extracts through murder and then use superpowers to win on secures.
Ah, interesting. Because he doesn't benefit from the backside of the leadership card with his only 3 mystic defense.
How do you mean?
Meaning, he in those instances, I guess he gets the reroll on his attacks.
He gets the reroll on his attacks.
No, sorry. Yeah. I'm not talking straight. I'm talking about the Ironbound Books card. The Ironbound Books card doesn't help him terribly much.
No, it doesn't. The Ironbound Books then is only really useful for Convocation models, and I think that it's quite limiting if you're thinking, okay, how do I bring a model in to only utilize Ironbound Books effectively? You kind of want to be thinking which models fit best with the game plan. Normally having a tanky splash like Bill is really good, and then having a model that's able to lean into the mystic attacks and spend power effectively like Red Skull 3 are really good options. It's normally one of those 2 avenues.
Yeah. And so he fits into your game plan that you mentioned at the top of the show, which is he's mobile and he also hits very hard, and it has reasonable tankiness. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, he's almost in that Magik box where he's a skirmish piece. I'm expecting him to die. I'm expecting him to trade his life for some more damage into the enemy or placing at the right time. Yeah, that sort of thing.
All right, let's switch over to the crises then, because it seems like that's a key aspect of how you're running the team. You picked for Secures, Infinity Formula Goes Missing, Deadly Meteors Mutate Citizens, and Superpower Scoundrels. And then on the extracts, you chose Unexpected Guests, Crash Royal Wedding, Scientific Samples Found in Discovered Universe, and the Mutesi Formula. As always, let's take a look at the Secures first. I couldn't think of a more kind of diverse group of secures here, especially since you want to try to do attrition. So tell me why you chose these ones. I mean, Infinity Formula and Scoundrels, I suppose, are similar in some senses, but Deadly Meteors is quite different.
Yeah. So there's definitely a bit of a balance on the secure side, and that's partly so that if my opponent, this is just something that I like to do personally. I don't know if it's good, but I like to make sure that my opponents never have a single game plan if they choose one of my crisis sets. Convocation is so good at pivoting between game plans that generally, say I'm against an attrition team, they're scared to choose my secures. They might pull scoundrels. But equally, if I'm against a securing team, they'll be hopefully scared to pull my secures in case they get meteors. So I've kind of got that like threat there. Whereas on the Convocation side of things, I can play all of those very well. Infinity Formula giving me an extra power on a lot of models is huge. It makes Bill really effective to sit on one side and I pile all the other models on the other side. Strange being able to gain full power in the power phase is huge. Bill gaining 3 is huge. So we make really good use of the Infinity Formula power. The Scoundrels is out of the list, just because I played it so much over the weekend, I was kind of tired of it. We've got a really solid Scoundrels game plan of just being able to play Red Skull and Bill and Strange and having these reliable displacement models. It's also a high threat mission, which we quite like as well. It's leaving my list, I think, because it just gives Inhumans access to so many VP, which I'm kind of worried about now. That I didn't realize going into the weekend. But it's we play both of those very well. And then Meteors is because Strange gains so much power, he's quite good on pay to flips. And then you can bring in splashes, someone like Bill and Bast, who are really good on pay to flips as well. So we kind of have that sort of game plan. And again, forcing a fight into the middle of the board can be quite good if you're able to pick off the right model at the right time. I'm definitely not looking to remove like every one of my opponent's pieces, but I can quite reliably remove 1 or 2 models. And that's then enough to be able to have an advantage in terms of activations and getting last activation and flipping all the points back to me or placing somebody off.
Okay. So where are you standing on more traditional pay to flips though, as a Convocation player?
So Mutant Madmen is really bad for us because it relies on physical defense and we don't have a lot of that. Generally though, because we're mobile and have a pretty solid power economy because we have good attack, we don't mind pay to flips at all.
Okay. Except for that one obvious problem. Yeah.
Except for that one that's a bad, not the great shape for us and not a good defense type for us.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. And you don't find on Scoundrels the cover being an issue?
Well, it's actually quite beneficial to us because most of the time your models can place where they need to be anyway.
Yeah.
And it just makes our somewhat squishy wizards a little bit tankier. I like it when I know that I'm going to take essentially 0 damage from attack. But then I'm able to, in return, place forward and get some good damage in.
Okay, that's how you deal with it. It's like you stay back and then you move into to do your attacks. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's just like it makes us a little bit better at trading at that sort of game plan.
All right, sweet. On the extracts, then I have to look some of these up. Okay, we have Montesi, which is the one of the few, or maybe the only E-shaped one left. Scientific samples. I just got to remind myself about that one.
I believe 4 points on an F shape, missing the middle.
Yes, that's
and it means whenever you roll a skull once per turn, that model gains an extra power.
It's a D. It's a D shape, not an F shape.
Shape. Oh, pardon me.
Yeah.
So it's doing a lot of the things that we really, really like as Convocation. Similar to Montesi, they both let us put an extract on Wong, which I said earlier on, that's pretty much a free win. If Wong can get an extract and then go stand on a secure, he then sort of validates his existence.
All right. And I'm just looking at... this is the one where everybody has to stay on a secure and you can get an extra VP as a result. Yeah.
That's fine. That's something to kind of aim for. Kind of the reason I took it, I believe it's a 17 threat, right?
Oh, and I just turned... Oh, wait. Hang on. It is, yes.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to force 17 threat. That gives me access to quite a few good squads. And yeah, that's kind of the whole reason there. An example of a good 17 could be Magik's, Strange, Wong, Bill, and Bast.
Okay, and then last one you had was Unexpected Guests. This is a square shape, and like a kind of like the old sword base, I think it is. And this is the one where you get pushed towards a secure if you're not within 2 of 1.
again, I think so. This is the one that I was thinking about earlier, where because it's an F shape, it gives us access to that dive round one. So I can take Voodoo, Bill, Bast, or Strange, or Ultron. All of them have access to that double moves, take the enemy extract, which forces my opponent to either go down on extracts or move toward to take mine. Which, if they do come and take mine, because I have access to so much mobility and damage on round one, I can normally then go 3-1 anyway. So Fs are Convocation's best friend, really. I think that it's either you take F shapes or you make sure one can get an extract. They're kind of the things you really want to see. We kind of don't really want to see Deadly Legacy Virus or Alien Ship. Those C shape or midline extracts aren't really our favorite, because it means that you're inevitably going to take a backline model that's not going to have an extract.
Those are really popular these days, though, right? The in the middle, the middle kind of midline type of extracts. So
the only saving grace to get into that is you can do a Strange opener on round one, where he uses Orb of Agamotto to place up and get a double tap into a model on the midline, and so he can get an extract off of somebody turn one. Or Voodoo gets to move and make an attack on the midline, and hopefully gets enough power to possess and go up.
Okay.
So they're your sort of models that can go up. If I were playing a C extract, I'd definitely play both of them, because they can threaten to win an extract back from my opponent. If I'm playing on their extracts, I probably don't have. I probably have Prio though. So Bill normally picks up the middle one, and then Strange and Voodoo will deploy either side to, be able to threaten stealing one of the extracts that my opponent gets.
Right. Okay. When you win priority, do you tend to have a preference of picking your secures or extracts?
I'll normally pick my secures, as most people do, unless I think I'm going to be able to get a free win with an extract dive. If I don't know, say the opponent has few ways of killing me. Maybe I'm against webs. I might take my extracts, so that I'm able to steal an extract from them and go up on points and not really feel the threat of dying. But yeah, Convocation is so versatile. I don't think there's really any pairing that I'm really, really scared of, except Fitkin Wedding Party. I think if I saw those, I'd definitely be choosing my secures just to avoid that 2-point mission. Right,
because you want things to be slower than that, so you can do attrition.
Yeah, I want things to be spread out fight, not one big fight. I want to have multiple fights going on where my mobility and rotation is going to be a big deal, and placing damage is going to be a big deal. Whereas I think the Fisk and Wedding Party kind of benefit whoever's able to fight just the hardest, which is fine. It's a great part of the game to have, but that's kind of our least favorite place. So the nightmare scenario would be if you somehow ended up on Wedding Party Virus. Obviously, they're both not in my list, so it wouldn't happen, but they're kind of the worst case scenario for Convocation.
Right. Okay. As far as tactics cards, then, we have a few that we've talked about already, so I'll mention those. So Brace and Indomitable are your restricted. Why Indom, actually?
Indom is actually slowly becoming one of my favorite cards in the game, because it so often just says, pay 2 power and don't lose a VP. So often your opponent is relying on a move, throw, or a push from an attack to be able to stop you scoring points. And just being able to say no is both really good and also quite frustrating for the opponent. And I think that mental damage can be a big deal as well. Normally, round 3 or round 4, if they're going to get more frustrated and lose focus, that's even better for me.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is the Bar with No Doors, which is the leadership card. Then we have the Recalibration Matrix, which I think is obvious in an attrition team.
Recal is really good, particularly for Strong.
Yeah.
Just because he's with his wild pierces, he's unlikely to die from any moderate attack dice. He's often either killed outright or not killed at all. And so when you move those spikes with Recal, it can often keep him alive. And then that effectively becomes a card that says Strange still gets to activate, even though he...
Yeah, okay, makes sense. The other ones that's obvious is Ironbound Books. We've talked a lot about it. Then you have 2 character cards. Journey Through Limbo, we talked about with...
Magic card, which is insane. I think that showed up almost every game. Every game that was on the table, at least. But just giving her that versatility to be a control piece as well is huge.
Can you put yourself through it, or is it strictly other characters?
put allies. So it's other characters. So Magik can't place herself.
Yeah.
You can put allies to it, which where you have Voodoo and Clea who are both immune to incinerate, there's no downside to Magik using it on her friends. Because it applies as an incinerate as well, which is pretty minor. We don't really care about that. But if you are in a situation where Voodoo's just stolen an extract, being able to follow that turn with Magik placing Voodoo away and then trying to kill someone is not
nice. I'm also thinking Beta Ray Bill's immune to incinerate, so you can get him back into play.
Yeah, so there's kind of that little theme there where I'm immune to incinerate, and that lets me leverage Magik's card a bit better.
You know, with this and her own teleport, Red Skull 3's teleport, and Strange's teleport, this sounds like where the rubber hits the road when it comes to being a good Convocation player, is understanding how to use those so well.
How to use those, where to place people, and which models to place as well. It's often quite obvious if there's like a Kingpin who I can place range 3, and that's effectively 2 walks of displacement for him. But even just placing somebody to effectively stagger them can be really, really useful.
Yeah, that's wild, because that is powerful, but also makes it kind of like in humans, where to throw the power around and making sure that people are in range for that power is one of the key things here. I feel like one of the key things is to understand how to use your teleports.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Then we have some ones that you have to remind me of. I'll just mention them first, and you can take them in order you like. It's Plane of Pohldack, Orb of Agamotto, and Bane of Damballa.
Okay, sweet. So we'll just go in that order. Plane of Pohldack is a really useful card, which effectively gives full rerolls on a Mystic attack to against one enemy model. So one of my guys pays for it, and then anyone rolling Mystic attacks gets to reroll any number of dice, which is great because it can just say like, hey, I want that guy dead, and you can go kill him. But as I played more and more Convocation, one of the things I've realized it's really useful for is handing power from one model to another model, because that model that's dealing all that Mystic damage with their builders is then super powered up. So one of the lines that you might want to do, say Doctor Strange has walked on turn 1 to pick up an extract and not done anything else, he'll start the following turn with enough power to use Plane of Pohldack and hand a load of power to Magik, which might then turn her online to get the days on the model, place somebody away, and then place herself out. So if Magik and somebody else are competing for they've got the extract, Magik can normally take that extract from them with damage and dice and the rerolls, place another model away with her card, and then place herself out. And that becomes suddenly a really useful play line that I wouldn't have had access to without the card and without the power building.
That's crazy, because like Wong could be anywhere on the table. There's no range on this card.
So on occasion, I'll double meditate with Wong to turn that online, because him meditating twice can give Doctor Strange full rerolls on round 1.
Oh God!
Yeah, it's pretty strong. It pairs nicely with the next card, which is Plane of Pohldack. There's 2 main reasons, and then like niche cases to use that. Main reason number 1 is Strange builds 3 power in the power phase. That turns his scalpel, effectively a range 3 place for him. Comes online turn 1 with that card.
You're talking about Orb of Agamotto, right?
Orb of Agamotto, yes, sorry, is the next card. Like, my wizard thoughts are all scrambled. So Orb of Agamotto lets him place range 3 and double tap somebody. So often if an opponent overextends round 1, if they overextend a piece that's too valuable, it can then be a useful play to have Wong double meditate, Strange uses Orb of Agamotto to place up, Wong pays for the Plane of Pohldack, and then Strange murders whoever's overextended.
Well, how is Strange getting 3 power round 1?
Strange starts with 3 power.
Oh, it starts with 3, not 2. Okay.
Yeah, so he's able to
Holy moly, this is bonkers.
An example from the weekend is an opponent, you moved their cable up onto the midline and picked up an extract, and then I think placed in and did some attacks with Avengers or something. He was very far up, and that meant that this line was suddenly online where I was able to hop on in and daze cable on round 1 and take that extract from him, which is a massive swing across the course of the game, because their 5 threat is dazed before my threat, threat on extract. So that's worth playing 2 cards for.
Hell yeah.
That's the first scenario. The second scenario is really useful on a B map like Infinity Formula that we play quite a lot. It comes with me every game that I'm on a B map, because it lets you rotate across the sides with models much better. So like if my opponent tries to deny flank, refuse a flank, and take all the extracts away from me over to the other side, I can then use my models that are left abandoned on the one side to catch them without wasting a move action.
Right.
So that's the other thing that's a really big deal. Like,
this is great. These are crazy cards. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a lot of access to really powerful cards.
Last one is the Bane of Damballa.
Really niche tech piece against Avengers or Mephisto. Avengers tend to find a bunker quite quickly. And there's a line of opening play where Strange gets to move medium and then do his range 5 shot. That costs 1 power, and then it costs another power to spend this card. And it applies root to the target model and every enemy model within range 2 of the target model. So if Avengers are in a bunker, that's 3 roots on Steve and Shang and models that really want to have superpowers online.
Okay. So how about against Inhumans then too, who tend to bunker up?
Inhumans, because their bunker is range 3 to hand power, it's not as useful against.
Yeah, but the bodyguards are 2.
Yeah, the bodyguards, but because Black Bolt's bodyguard cost 1 at the moment, taking it from 1 to 2 is a big deal. It's double the cost. But going from 2 to 3 tends to be a bigger break point, because if a model had 1 power going into the round or 2 power going into round 2, making their charge cost 3 is a big shift in the economy. You know, it slows them down a lot.
Yeah. Huh. All right.
The other full model is for Mephisto. Mephisto's economy is so tight. Same with Webs and APOC. Their economies are so tight that giving them root on round 1 can be such a big...
Yeah, it's awful. When I was playing against Apocalypse over the weekend, it was a nuisance. Okay.
Yeah, APOC is a nasty boy. But Convocation get the same trick.
Yeah. All right, last thing is, what's your 11th card, so to speak? What would you really wish to put in here? Or is this, you're happy with this?
So the one that tagged in and out on the team's day or not on the team's day was Book of Cagliostro, which is a really interesting card where a Convocation model gets to spend 2 and 2 other allies get to spend 2.
Oh, yeah.
If they're all within 3 of each other. And you get to remove an activated token from the Convocation model. So what that really means is that Doctor Strange gets to kill some people, place some people around, activate, and then when the turn gets passed back to him, he can unactivate and then go again. And that double Strange turn can be pretty backbreaking for a game, even more so than Doctor Strange activations can already be. You know, if you're going to lose prio by dazing models and placing people around, you might as well really lose prio and get like 6 activations to your opponent's 3.
Oh yeah, easily. So what dictates whether it gets in or not?
It gets in or not based on how good Bane of Damballa is. That's probably the swap. Because Bane of Damballa is so good against some of the best teams in the game at the moment, it probably doesn't see a way in. It was in my roster quite reliably in the E Street meta. Because if to pick up a key daze and move away and then unactivate Strange and go again, that was quite a nice line of play.
So which are your 5 typically?
Normally it will be 1 restricted card, not normally 2. So normally 1 restricted card, either Brace or Indom, based on whether I think my opponent is going to be pushing me more or throwing terrain at me more. It might be the case that I'm on a terrain light board and I've got Bill and I'm like, you know what, I can quite easily just throw the big terrain thing and not worry about having Brace. So it'll be one of the 2. And then I'll normally take 3 combo cards. That'll typically be Books, the reroll card, playing a Pohldack, and Orb of Agamotto is normally useful, but that might swap for Bane of Damballa. And then Journey to Limbo comes in because that's every game.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's helpful to know where your swapping points are. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Last step then for all this is to kind of see how this all came into practice. Can you give us some highlights from each of the 4 games that you played on the Sunday? I'll mention them to you, so you don't have to remember everything. So the first round was you against Leon Morris. He was playing X-Force, and he won priority, but you won this one 18-11.
Yeah, so Leon was my game 1 on the Sunday. He was the guy that overextended his cable and that allowed me to rather opportunistically be like, okay, cool, now Strange gets to walk in and sweep cable. And that put me so far ahead. I think my round 1 score was like by the end of round 2, it might have been like 9-2 or like 10-4 or something like that. And then I knew all I had to do was brace myself for a swing turn on turn 3 and then let it close out on turn 4.
Okay.
But yeah, just punishing the overextension is the highlight there, like the danger of strange on turn.
Right. All right, good. Interesting. And by overextension, do you mean past the midline, or is the midline enough for all this to happen?
The midline is enough for this. It's just if you put a valuable enough piece opposite Strange on the midline, he's going to probably go and get it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Second round, you played against one of the London meta monsters, Ed Morgan. He was playing Inhumans on Spider Infected and Scoundrels. Yeah. He won priority and he won 16-12.
Yeah, well, what I'll do, instead of talking about a highlight, I'll talk about the biggest play that I blundered and what I should have done.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We were on Scoundrels, and I had an extract on Magik. I had just dazed Black Cat on the middle Scoundrel. Mm-hmm. And I was very worried about Black Cat stealing and running away.
Yep.
I had priority, and so what I decided to do was throw a load of dice and double spend them Black Cat, which didn't go well. I think on odds that should pick up Black Cat. But it didn't. And in fact, what I should have done is just use Magik's card and mobility to get rid of Black Cat, place her away, and then run away.
Yeah.
Because even if Black Cat then used an action to come back in, she'd then use another action to steal, and she'd be stuck in the middle, or at least stuck a range 2 place away.
Yep.
That was an example of me actually blundering an activation, and I really should have just done the reliable displacement thing at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, really close game, really tight with Ed.
Yeah. Nice one. Round 3, you played against Big Bearded Beast, who was playing... Oh, amazing. He was playing Legion of the Lost, which is Dracula's faction.
He did a lot. He was playing Legion of the Lost with Malekith. So he was here to take names.
Whoa.
He made a really cool play where he unactivated Mephisto on round 1 and flipped an Emkron in his favor. So he was massively up on scoring. Mm-hmm. But I think the point that the game turned back toward me was a strange opening activation where he was able to place... he spent 16 power. I placed 2 of my own models, including and Strange, and displaced an enemy Mephisto after dazing him, or before dazing him. Mm-hmm. So that sort of set me up for a turn 4 where Mephisto was 2 actions away from having any impact on the table, and everyone was holding extracts and in safety.
Ah. So you won this one 19-16. You also had priority. So which did you pick, extracts or?
I picked my extracts, I think, on this one.
It's Montesi and Emkron, if that helps.
Yeah. So we landed on my Montesi because I thought his were all midline stuff, and I thought I'll play any secure that comes up, but I'd rather make sure I can get my backline pieces an extract. Yeah, that's going to be the most important thing.
Nice one. Okay, last round. You got a big fish to fight. You were playing against Liam Watt from Scotland, also playing Inhumans. This is Mutant Extremis on Scoundrels. He won priority, and he really walloped you, 17-8.
Really won me. This one felt a bit like I was in a time loop because I felt like I just lost to Inhumans on Scoundrels.
Yeah.
And it felt like I was losing to Inhumans on Scoundrels all over again. So even though this one was a wallop, what I will say is that I managed to not lose as badly by utilizing the Convocation double move and taking an enemy F extract. One of the big Inhuman plays is they get to safe grab any extract with Quicksilver.
Yeah.
After 2 turns, they can hand enough power over. So knowing that was coming, I made sure Voodoo was in a position to go and take one of his. But he's an excellent player, and that was brutal.
Yeah. Anything you should have done differently?
There was an opportunity for me to use Red Skull, borrow some power from some people, and move Voodoo back to safety. So I delayed on doing that too much, and he handed power to Black Cat and stole it. So even though I saw the Quicksilver Gambit coming, I didn't see the Black Cat Gambit coming, and he still went 3-1 on extract. Should have been a bit more hasty on pulling Voodoo to safety.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Cool. All right. Well, look, that brings us to the end of the review. Any final thoughts that you want to impart about Convocation?
They're really, really fun. There's so much depth to this affiliation. There's a lovely little community. Like every Convocation player I've met, we're all like, oh, it's just us against the world. We're the only one that knows what's up. So if you want to jump on them, absolutely jump on them, start putting in the work. And like any of the complex affiliations, like understand that your first 10 games might not go too well. I think my first 10 games in Convocation in tournaments, I went like 3-7 or something like that. So yeah, just spend the time on them. It will pay off. They are great fun.
Wonderful. Great. How can people get a hold of you if they want to talk some more about Wizard?
I'm on Discord as Big Charles. Drop me a message. I'm always keen to talk about Wizards. There's been a handful of people now that have messaged me being like, I'm building a Convocation roster, and every single one of them I have spoken to as much as I can, just because I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love hearing your thoughts as well.
That's great. So nice that you were able to share your knowledge about this faction. Hopefully that inspires people to play it some more. Of course, the affiliation box is coming out soon, so that's another incentive for people to play.
Way to get started.
Yeah, excellent. All right, Charles, thank you so much for your time today. It was really a pleasure to talk to you about this. And also, thank you to all our Patreons. Without you, this episode wouldn't have been possible. We hope you're enjoying listening to it first, much earlier than everybody else will be, as a part of a way to thank you for sponsoring the show. Until next time, cheers and happy gaming.